Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. I never get tired of having this gentleman on my podcast. His imagination is so spectacular, and I love it when he reads stories out loud to me. His name is Randy D. Pearson, and he's going to read another story today. Thanks for coming back, Randy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
You're just a joy to have on the program. I mean, I tell people frequently that one of the big reasons I started this program is not only to assist indie authors in their marketing, but primarily it's a self-serving venture because I am still that 6-year-old kid who's sitting on the front row of the carpet at the library on Sunday morning. I want to hear the stories out loud. If I thought I could get you to read the entire book for me, I would do that.
Oh man, my throat will be sore by the time it's done, but I'd have a lot of fun doing it though.
Yeah, I just absolutely love to hear people read out loud to me. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so you've been in lieu of reading your bio, which I've done already, and people could go back and listen to the other episodes to find out all the specific things about your writing trajectory. What I'm interested to discover about your background is, have you had any um, particularly quote unquote serious training in writing, or is this just storytelling comes naturally to you and you put it in paper?
Well, it started out as a young person having all these weird what if ideas that I really, when I was young, I truly never watched the ending of any movie or TV show. My brain was always going off on a tangent. What if this would have happened instead? And get to the end of the movie. I mean, literally in a movie theater, leaving the
So
movie
you
theater, having my
you've
friend.
never you've never seen the guy ride off on this horse into the sunset. You never
No,
get
no.
that
To me,
far.
he's driving on a Corvette. And, so so the ideas were always there. I mean, since I was probably
Mhm.
10, and I would, and I realized early on, I tried to draw cartoons and stuff. I had a weird comic strip called The Weirdos. I guess it was a weird comic strip because it was called The Weirdos. Hick and Bunyan were my main characters,
Oh, fun.
and they were fun. I mean, it was horribly drawn, and again, I'm a 10-year-old, so I mean, it
Right.
wasn't terribly exciting, but I realized pretty early on that I wasn't an artist. My dad is a commercial artist. He's a painter, did some beautiful stuff, but it's like my brain could not go there. I couldn't. My stick figures didn't look
Yeah.
like things,
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
had to. So I started writing, but then I realized. Well, actually, I guess I realized it. I would write a story. I'd bring it, to work or to a friend or my mom or something, and oh, that's nice, dear,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then one day I gave one to somebody, and they read it, and their response to me was, "You don't read much, do you?"
Yeah.
Like, well, no, but why would you say that? It's like, because this is a really interesting idea, but it's no offense, but it's really badly written.
Yeah.
Like, you need to read some books. You need to know how a story is written before you can write anything else. Like,
Oh, all
wow,
that persnickety structure and grammar
yeah.
stuff.
So to get back to actually answer your question, so
Yeah.
from there I went to when I was already going to LCC for a data processing degree back in the day,
Okay.
and took a creative writing class, which did help a lot.
Hmm.
And then I joined writing at the Ledges, a writing group out of Grand Ledge. I've been there probably 14 years or more, 15
Okay.
years. And that was really what did it. Going from just having friends read it and pat my head to actually having other writers read and critique my work and me critiquing their work. All of a sudden, I began to understand, oh, so this is how a story is crafted. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, yeah, I
That
became really
that
better.
interactive connectivity to the craft and to people who do it from different perspectives, that's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Hmm.
Your work can't help but get better in that environment, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that more than anything else, it taught me to learn and accept constructive criticism, realizing that the word constructive is in there. Like,
Right.
one of the earliest things that I gave to an old girlfriend to read, to enjoy, she gave it back to me. She was an English major. My brain should have realized this. She gave it back to me all circled and arrowed and just
Yeah.
all over. Oh my God. She still reminds me to this day. I'm still friends with her. She reminds me to this day how mad I was. Like, how dare you do this? It's like,
Yeah.
just helping you. You wanted me to do this. No, I wanted you to enjoy it. Finally, it took me a
Wanted you to
while to
tell
go,
me
but
you liked it. I wanted you to validate my storytelling.
all I wanted was this. But no, now I understand the point of constructive criticism. You have to accept what people are telling you because they're not doing it to be mean, they're doing it to help you.
Yeah.
Take it or don't take it, but you have to at least listen. So that I've learned that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think learning through the support of a community like that is a great way to strengthen your skill and just to understand the flow of story. I think it's a great
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah,
I know that
exactly.
our writing community here in Michigan is awesome.
Hmm.
They're filled with smart, supportive, creative human beings, and working with people like you and many others in our community, my work just gets better. Mostly because I'm trying to meet the expectations of what you've already done.
Right. Yeah, and really the idea that critiquing somebody else's work really helped me too. I never thought it would, but it makes sense that if you're looking at something with that eye, it does help you to really like if you can catch something weird and like this doesn't make sense to me or this doesn't flow right. Like, oh, and then you can think about that on your own stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's super helpful. Today, you're going to read from your humor. It's humor fiction novel. Do we go as far as calling it a novel?
Yeah. This one is
Okay.
62,000 words, so it's
So
definitely
yeah, it's
200.
definitely a novel. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I I always I'm always gentle when I make the distinction between novella and novel
yeah.
because some people don't see a distinction and other people say a definite distinction. So I'm always a little tenuous about that. This
Yeah,
is driving crazy.
yeah, yep, 250 pages, so I guess that counts, right?
That's a novel. Absolutely, no
Yeah.
question. Tell us a little bit about this story. What's the basic premise behind this?
All right, so this is the story of two friends that drive from Lansing to Wheat Patch, California, going to pick up an old arcade game, like one of those stand-up arcade games. You can see that right there.
Yep, yep.
So by the time they get to California, they've managed to lose all their money. They have enough money to buy the machine, but not enough to get home again.
Oh no.
So they come up with a rather unique idea. So they're slowly making money and working their way back home, meeting good and bad people along the way.
Sure. So it's a road trip story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. That's super fun. Okay, I am looking forward to hearing you read from this, and then we're gonna have a little bit of exciting news at the end. So
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if you're listening, make sure you stay tuned in until the end because you get to hear some really exciting stuff afterward.
there you
So,
go.
Randy, when you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay. So I am starting on chapter 3. I woke up bright and early the next morning, feeling refreshed and ready for the long drive ahead. Trying to give Austin as much rest as possible, I waited until 9 o'clock before heading over. Walking into his cluttered domicile, I headed straight for his bedroom. As I approached, I could hear his 3 alarm clocks beeping in cacophonous unity, nearly drowned out by my buddy's tumultuous snoring. Oh, yes, Austin's snore could wake the dead. Though I did miss having him as a roommate, I did not miss the noise. Never in my life had I heard such a racket emanating from a human being. Even down the hall and through our closed doors, I would be jolted awake from time to time. Man, I uttered to no one, I am not going to get much sleep this week. I should have invested in some earplugs. It took 3 attempts, spaced about 10 minutes apart, to pull him to consciousness. After he grabbed a quick shower and a bite to eat, we hit the road. The first leg of our journey started smoothly enough. As we headed out of Lansing on Interstate I-69, I took the wheel. We saw sparse traffic headed south, so it gave us plenty of time to chat. I turned to gaze at my friend, who had his head propped up against the side window. As a snort of a snore emanated from him, I elbowed him sharply in the arm. Snorting again as he popped awake, he shot me a cross expression. Dude, I had to get up early, remember? Yeah, I know, but it's far too early for you to subject me to that buzzsaw snore of yours. I'll hear enough of that while I'm trying to sleep. I racked my brain trying to come up with to conjure up a bit of simple conversation. So, Osty, how long have we been friends? He shrugged. Well, we met in middle school, became friends in ninth grade. It'll be 20 years come next year. Sounds about right. 20 years in 2000. Oh, hey, so what do you think about this whole Y2K thing? Is the millennium bug going to cause the end of the world? Man, I sure hope so. I shot him a queer look. What do you mean you hope so? Oh, we've been hearing the hype for months, years really. All the crap about computers crashing, banks and the government losing all our records, etc. Some worst case scenarios have nuclear codes resetting and power grids failing. End of the world stuff. Yeah, sounds frightening. A sinister grin crept on Austin's scruffy face. You kidding? Sounds fantastic, man. Well, not the threat of nuclear winter, mind you, but no more debt, and especially the no more society part. That really appeals to me. Anarchy rules. He threw his fist in the air for emphasis. Yeah, but Austin, under this scenario, computers will stop working. You love computers. My buddy shrugged. I'll read books. I love books as much as I love computers. But I really love the irony of it all. Computers are designed to make our lives better, but due to a tiny programming issue, using 2-digit year code instead of 4, the world will come crashing down around us. It's fun, man. Fun, I said softly. The end of civilization sounds like fun to you. I rolled my eyes. Sure thing. You see where the world's headed? It's only a matter of time before the American empire collapses under its own weight. We're just like Rome. All dynasties fail eventually. I've just always hoped to be alive to see it, to have a front row seat to Armageddon. I couldn't help staring at him for a moment, my mouth agape. I had no idea you felt this way. Oh, I think people are morons as a general rule. This is an offshoot of that. The idea that some idiots who fancy themselves intelligent eggheads designed all the world's computer programs was such a tiny yet fatal flaw. It's such a great irony. Sometimes I find it hard to tell the difference between serious and joking with him. I suspect he offered a bit of both in this conversation. Well, personally, I don't think anything's going to happen, but I don't feel right joking about it. He laughed out loud at my comment. Like virtually walking under a ladder, is it, Jay? Kinda, I guess. Either way, my friend, we'll know what's what in about 6 months. Just in case, he added, I'm buying extra water and bullets. Oh, and I'm not going to get you a Christmas present. Well, you can get me water for Christmas or bullets. He put a finger to the side of his nose as the smile widened. Nice, always thinking. We had no fun getting through Indianapolis, as it seemed like 1,000 expressways converge around that city. But we eventually ambled our way to I-65, heading south toward Nashville. Not too long after maneuvering through the Indianapolis quagmire, I had some time to think. I had this nagging feeling I'd forgotten to do something. Mentally, I ran through my checklist. Okay, I have the directions and the money. I have the seller's house, home and work phone numbers. Why, I even have the number to his fancy cell phone. The lucky sod. Always wanted a cell phone, but I don't have a real need. And besides, who but a rich dude can afford one? Oh, never mind that. Focus. I have Phil washing my plates, and he promised to feed and water the cat. I called work. Still can't believe Bertha fell for that. Dang, she's as gullible as my girlfriend. Why, crap! I yelled loud enough to jolt Austin awake. Not an easy feat, to be sure. What's up? Oh man, I completely forgot to call Bonnie. Here I am halfway to Cali, and I didn't even tell my girl I was leaving. Oh, cripe, she's gonna kill me. Austin responded with a dismissive wave. Don't worry about it. I doubt she'll even notice you're gone. If I were you, I wouldn't even bother calling. Show up in a week and play it off. Spoken like a divorced man. Austin has been understandably bitter about women since his wife left him a few years ago. I still found it hard to believe she called his snoring cruel and unusual punishment in the divorce papers. Or was it mental cruelty? Either way, I know his snore sounded like a lumberjack with a malfunctioning chainsaw. Would it been grounds for a separation? A pair of earplugs would have been cheaper if she had so chosen. No, there had to be more to it, but Austin never wanted to speak about it. We've talked about everything else, from the lackluster Detroit Tigers to the end of the world, but not that. We may be best friends, but I had no desire to pry, to open up that can of cream corn. I always assumed he would talk about it in his own time. I spent the next several miles worrying about my situation, trying to decide what to say to Bonnie. When we pulled into a truck stop to refuel, I hightailed it to the nearest payphone. Her phone rang the prerequisite 4 times before her answering machine kicked in. Breathing a sigh of relief, I realized I now wouldn't have to deal with her directly. Hi, honey, it's me. Say, funny story. I'm on my way to California right now. I'm driving with Austin as we speak. I'll be back by Monday. I'll give. She chose that moment to pick up the cell phone or picked up the phone and berate me. You're driving to California? What on earth for? If you're taking a vacation, don't you think I might have wanted to go too? I have some time saved up, and you know I have family in San Diego. Typical, just typical. Only thinking of yourself. She has family in San Diego? Huh. I don't remember her ever mentioning that. I decided now was not the optimal time to bring that up. Oh, hey, Bonnie. Yeah, we're driving in Phil's truck to pick up a Crazy Climber arcade game. A what? A game? You're driving 3,000 miles for a stupid game? Yeah, Crazy Climber. It's not stupid. Well, okay, it's a little stupid, but you're darn right it's stupid. And just how much did you pay for this game? Oh, I got a great deal. Just $300. She sighed audibly. Man, I hated that sigh of hers, like an airy slap of disappointment. Oh my God, Jay, no wonder you never have any money saved up. Always spending it on stupid toys. You're never gonna grow up, are you? What? I wasn't planning on doing it this way, but I may as well. I think it's time we start seeing other people. What? What are you talking about? When I get back, no, she yelled. It's over, Jay. We've been dating for nearly a year. And that time, I've gotten a better job with 2 promotions, a house with a backyard, and a brand new car. You spent all your disposable income on video games and computer equipment and other childish stuff. You need to grow up. You're over 30, Jay. You're still the same nerdy boy you were in high school. Become an adult already. Think about others. Think about your future, not just your immediate gratification. Oh, that's just not true. I've always said immediate gratification takes too long. Good Lord, she assaulted me with another sharp sigh. Never take things seriously. I'm breaking up with you, and you're making lame jokes. You're not that lame, I said softly. Goodbye, Jay. With that final sentence, she hung up. Setting down the handset, I whispered, oh. I slowly shuffled over to the truck with my head drooping. Austin stood leaning up against the front grill, munching on a Snickers bar. Through caramelly breath, he asked, so how was Princess Bonnie? My sigh was much softer than Bonnie's, like a fleeting summer breeze. Oh, well, she kind of dumped me. Harsh. She that mad you left without her? I guess it was the final straw. Told you not to call her. Slapped me on the back. She walked past me and tossed the wrapper in the trash. Don't worry. When we get back, you can talk to her, flash her that smile of yours, say something witty. She'll be putty again. Let's get rolling already. As I climbed into the truck, I highly doubted his take on the situation. But still, I couldn't do a thing about it now, so I may as well take this optimism to heart. Why not, right? At around midnight, we approached the city of Nashville. We had stopped a couple times en route, but not for much more than a quick meal, some gas, and a pee, and back on the road again. Okay, I know we promised Phil we would stop occasionally, but dang, our excitement could barely be contained. Besides, old Red didn't seem to be having any trouble. This was a good thing, since neither of us had very much mechanical inclination. Based upon our respective automotive experiences, Austin probably had a bit more acumen than I did. After all, he spent a bit of his youth standing in the garage with his father, handing him tools. Not that he paid a lot of attention, but at least he had that much. At least he knew what tools looked like. On the other side of the spectrum, my dad had a different mentality, which I inherited. Drive it until it died, leave it smoldering by the side of the road, and hitchhike or walk home. Basically, that meant I'd blown up a lot of car engines in my youth and walked many miles on the highway. Might have been my imagination, but it seemed like no matter how far away I got, I could still see the smoke plume off in the distance, as if to wave a final goodbye. Dad's philosophy followed me through my first few cars, starting with a 1980 baby blue Ford Mustang I inherited from the folks. Actually, the Mustang turned out to be a good first car, in that it clearly had a strong urge to live. Clinging tenaciously to life, it survived quite a while despite all the negligence. I once had a mechanic at the Jiffy Lube tell me he didn't feel right charging me full price for the oil change, since the engine didn't actually have any oil in it. He said he pulled the plug and nothing came out. I drove that car until it threw a piston or something. All I know for sure was it had a gaping hole in the engine and the hood. From there, I destroyed several more cars in seemingly rapid succession, from a crappy blue Chevy Nova whose engine exploded in a fiery mess, to the rusty old LTD I drove for 5 months until the engine seized up due to, surprise, surprise, lack of oil. Why, I even owned and eviscerated a very used Volkswagen Rabbit. Then I bought my first new car, a Saturn, and learned something called preventative maintenance. So Austin had a basic understanding of car tools, and I brought to the table a lot of experience staring at smoking automotive remains while rubbing my chin thoughtfully. Once in Nashville, we drove around in search of the cheapest looking lodging we could find, preferably with a car or a bar and restaurant close by. We realized a couple $100 would not get us a lot of 4-star rooms, so we decided to dive it. As we turned onto Wedge Hill Avenue, a building with peeling paint and orange shrubbery caught our attention. The place had what we needed, with the motel and bar conveniently connected onto the monstrously ugly facade. The place had the name Bob's Snoozer's Motel adorning the top half of a faded yellow plastic sign. I believe the lower portion read The Spewing Tourist, but with at least one bulb out, it burned out on that part. I couldn't be sure. Okay, it actually said Bob's Country Palace on the sign, but allow me a little artistic freedom here. After securing a room at Bob's, settling in, and startling the cockroaches, we decided to check out the adjoining restaurant/bar. As we entered the establishment, we felt a bit out of our element. Now, neither Austin nor myself were much into the bar scene, but at least in good old Lansing, Michigan, the bars appear relatively clean and safe. Here, we feared stopping for too long in any one spot, thinking our shoes might become cemented to the sticky floor, coated with beer and Lord knows what else. We sprinted over to a vacant table and plopped down. Then, after my butt got stuck to the hard wooden chair, I peeled myself loose and we chose another table. We counted around 30 people at Bob's, some playing pool, others hacking away at a couple of old video games in the corner, 2 scuzzy looking dudes playing darts, and the rest sitting at the bar drinking their lives away. The waitress, a tall, surly looking woman who appeared to be in her late 40s, slowly walked over to our table. She had dishwater blonde hair and a cigarette dangling from her mouth. So what do you have? That seemed a bit odd. Well, we haven't seen a menu yet. She looked at me like I was the stupidest person on the planet. Look, Mac, this ain't no dine-in experience. You want a burgers and fries or don't you? I snickered, which caused her to shoot me a particularly dirty glare. So I replied, sure, that's fine. How about a rum and coke? She shook her head slowly as she left, not even allowing Austin to order anything. She came back a minute later with 2 bottles of Lodestone beer, half dropping them on the table. I've had a really lousy day, she said matter-of-factly. So deal with these while your burgers are cooking, okay? Fair enough, Austin said with a fake smile. The customer's never right, I muttered under my breath. Austin, who didn't care much for beer, shocked me when he grabbed his and greedily downed about half of it. He shook his upper body in a spasm, the way a person does after swallowing some nasty-tasting cough syrup. Ugh. Might as well make the best of it, eh? With that, he picked up his rotund frame and trudged over to the video games. He dug a quarter out of his pocket and started playing Galaga. The sight of a Galaga machine in a place like this, so many miles from home, made me smile. Seemed like every bar in the world had that game, and we were probably 2 of the best players in Lansing. Since people didn't play it much anymore, we could both easily get on the high scoreboard back home at Pinball Pete's or one of the several bars in town that still had it. While my dark-haired friend played away, I slowly scanned the crowd. Now, I generally tried my best not to stereotype people, but being only human and having lived my whole life in the same town, I couldn't help categorizing this bar as redneck. The Randy Travis blaring from the jukebox added nicely to that ambience, as did the guy who, after he lost a game of pool, started pounding on the winner's face. Even though I didn't much fancy beer myself, I found mine going down pretty quickly and smoothly. We hadn't had anything to eat or drink in hours, and after being on the road, this kind of felt cool. I finished my beer and got another one. Being a small, skinny dude, weighing $130 on a fat day, I already felt a nice little buzz, thanks to my empty stomach. As I continued to survey the populace, I noticed a striking young woman staring at me. She sent a sly little grin my way. This tiny woman, probably not even 5 foot tall, easily held the title of prettiest thing in this dump. Her high cheekbones really turned me on, as did her auburn hair, playfully cascading over her shoulders, ending midway down her back. Holding my gaze, she stood up, but had to take a moment to steady herself before gliding my way. Ooh, pretty and drunk. I like her already. She was a pure pleasure to watch as she moved her svelte body toward me. Howdy. Though she had to shout to be heard over the jukebox, she somehow still whispered seductively, You mind if I sit, baby? Mind, hell. Not at all, I said, trying to sound all suave by lowering my voice an octave. I'm Jay. What's your name, honey? She sat and put her hand on my leg, using the grip to sliding her chair closer to mine. Mindy, where are you from and where are you going? I told her about our little journey, and although I could tell she didn't really care, she listened half-heartedly as she moved her hand slowly up and down my thigh. After a couple more minutes of mindless chatter on my part, she asked if I had a room in the area. When I replied in the affirmative, she leaned right up to my ear and whispered, Well then, Jay, what are we waiting for? When her tongue nicked the edge of my ear and I felt her hand on my backside, I had no idea what we were waiting for. Well, I guess Bonnie dumping me a few hours earlier turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Not being the kind of guy who would ever cheat on his woman, this wouldn't be happening at all had I not remembered to call. It was odd how life worked out sometimes, and my mind tried to dredge up that old saying about closing doors and opening windows. What the hell am I thinking about this crap? I glanced up at the back of Austin's head before turning back to her. Just wait here, little lady. I gotta tell my buddy not to wait up. She winked as she slowly slid her hand off my butt, keeping it under the table as she gave me that sly smile again. I stood up slowly. I wanted to stand up fast, but I had a couple things working against me. I marched over to my friend, still working over the Galaga machine. Hey, Austie, how you scoring? Doing good, man, he replied, not taking his eyes off the swirly invaders. Still got another ship left after this one, and just look at the points. Not surprisingly, he already had a high score. Speaking of scoring, I said, nearly giggling like a schoolgirl, I got a hot chick who wants to go back to the room, so I'll see you later, okay? Short of a bomb threat, very little could wrench Austin's eyes from video game screen. He turned completely around to look at our table. Who, that surly old waitress? I reared back to smack him as I spun my head toward the table. The only person over there was, in fact, the waitress with our burgers. My heart sank, not to mention something else, as I quickly scanned the room. Crap, the stunning lady had vanished on me. Oh man, maybe she's in the bathroom, I said I said dejectedly as I shuffled back to claim my dinner. That'll be $7.50, the waitress blurted out as I arrived at the table. As I reached into my back pocket for my wallet, I asked, You didn't happen to see an auburn-haired woman leave the table, did you? I didn't see nothing, Mac. $7.50. With my hand touching the spot where my wallet normally resided, I began to panic when I didn't feel the usual bump. My eyes widened and I felt my face turn pale. What the hell? My wallet! Doing a complete 360, I spun around rapidly, as if I could somehow see my own posterior if I revolved quickly enough. I scanned the table and floor and back toward Austin, but I didn't see it. Then I remembered exactly where Mindy had put her hand earlier, and I knew a pretty face had suckered me.
Thank you very much. That's going to be a fun adventure for those two guys, I can see already.
Oh, yes. Much more to happen in this story.
So you have exciting news about this story. Share with us your news.
Yes. So this book, the option to this book has been picked up by West Prospect Pictures out of Marshall. So they're a small production company right now. Literally, I think it's one person, but this guy really loved the book. He's worked at a few other production studios in the mid-Michigan area. There's a few movies that are out that he's been part of that you, of course, would never heard of. I'm going to mention a Haunting in Cawdor, Cawdor.
Okay.
Look it up sometime.
Okay.
Not the best horror movie in the world, I will give you that. But this dude is in the movie and was one of the producers of it. But anyway, so yeah, he bought the rights to make this into a movie. We actually signed an official contract. He wanted to do it on a napkin because he loved the idea of taking this napkin with him to California. Because when we did it, like the week after that, there was this producers, how do I say, like an indie producers festival in somewhere in California. So basically, it's a thing where all these indie places they talk to all these producers with all the money and pitch them the idea. So
Okay. Yeah. So it's like a pitch conference for books.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and he didn't. He got a couple of nibbles. He told me. He said specifically because it's weird to me that he loves doing horror movies. That's his main thing. But he said he wanted something different to take to this because it's always like they always want to pitch horror. And he said there were two different producers who were like, "You don't have horror? You have a comedy? Well, tell me all about it." You know. And
Oh, good. Yeah.
so,
So because he was unique in the room, he got some attention.
yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, I know there's a rough draft of a script, and he actually has invited me to help with the script. So I'm going to get a screenwriting credit.
That's even better.
Yeah,
So I
right?
have to ask, who do you see playing the two lead guys in this book? Let's go all out and say in a utopian vision, who could you imagine which actors would play the two leads in this show?
So the idea I'd always had in my head, you know who Seth Green is?
I do.
Okay, I always envisioned him as Jay, and a person whose name is Tyler Labine. He's been in a bunch of things over the years. Live in Tucson was one. There's been a couple of movies, but anyway, I always saw Tyler Labine as Austin. He's kind of a heavy set, thickly bearded dude.
Mhm.
So those two were the people I always saw. And the one thing that I always thought was funny was, so this book has been around. I published it first in 2010. And
Okay.
at that early time, I used to advertise this heavily on all the video game sites, all the sites out there.
Well, sure. It's a good fit.
You know, and so I've sold this book in, geez, like 12 different countries. I mean, ridiculous number
Nice.
of countries.
Nice.
Several in Great Britain. And there are 3 different people who in Great Britain read the book, told me they saw Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in these roles. Do you know who
That
they
could
are?
be fun too. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again,
Wow.
the blonde dude, the young blonde dude, and the heavy set guy is like, yep, those two. So those were I mean, we're not going to get them, of course, but you know, that's always been my 2 different pictures.
That'll be fun. Well, I'm looking forward to this film going into production. And when it does, I hope you and your producer will come on the program and we could talk about the comparison of book to film. That for me is
that'd be fun
that
for sure.
that for me is always a fun discussion because you can't always put 60,000 words into an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we've had
so I love
discussions
that
about
comparison discussion.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about maybe even doing some sort of a limited run series instead of an actual movie.
That would be fun.
You never know, you know.
This is
The
why
nice
we
thing
have
these days,
streaming services.
exactly. You know, Netflix and everything else, they love series. So you never know. There's so many different possibilities. I'm
Your
excited
movie
about it.
could be on Hulu. Wouldn't we be excited about that?
Oh my gosh, yes. Mhm.
I'm so glad you came out and read for us again today.
Oh.
And I'm really excited about this film project. I think you've worked really hard to get to it. And congratulations. And we'll have a party when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. I love doing this show. I love you.
Well, you have more books, so you can come back and read again.
Okay, cool. I'll do that.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.